Hey guys, Andre here, and I'm here with Ash Paulson, as well as three very special guests from Ember Lab to discuss their latest short film, Majora's Mask: Terrible Fate. And they are the brothers Mike and Josh Greer, who directed and adapted the story respectively, as well as Jason Galati, who was a sound designer and composer. So first up guys, I want to give you a huge congratulations on, first off, the success of your video and how amazing that film is. So how has it been seeing the reception to it so far in just, it's only been, what, 24, 48 hours so far?
Well, thanks for, I'm glad you enjoyed the film, and we've actually been really excited to finally get it out there. It's been something we've kind of been tinkering on for a while, and it's been amazing. I mean, we expected it to be a hit because we thought it was pretty good, but you kind of never know when you're kind of working in your little garage, tinkering on stuff, and it's been really exciting to see the feedback, and just how much people have really kind of enjoyed the experience as a whole. You know, with Jason's remix album coming out at the same time, it just was a really nice package that I think we delivered to the fans, and it was a lot of fun to work on, and we're excited to get it out there.
And I have to say, your timing seems perfect. I mean, for one, anytime you release anything Majora's Mask related, that's always a great time for me, at least. But Nintendo just announced today that Majora's Mask is hitting the Virtual Console tomorrow, which just could not have worked out better for you guys, right?
Its timing is amazing, actually.
Well, I just wanted to interject really quick and say that I think you guys did an amazing job, and you really, specifically, I would say you really captured the sense of evil and that sense of darkness that Majora's Mask is so popular for, and I just want to say you guys really nailed that vibe.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the aspects of the game that resonates with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. We wanted to make sure we captured that in, paying appropriate homage to the game, but also doing a little bit of a unique spin on it as well.
Mm-hmm. So how did you come up with this idea? Like, what inspired it, and how long have you guys been working on it for?
So yeah, I guess I'll take that really quick. This is Josh. The original kind of what got us start thinking about it is when the kind of rumors came out where, oh, maybe they're going to make a Zelda franchise or Zelda series on Netflix, and just given our background in terms of the work that we do professionally, we thought about, how could that actually look, and how would you actually realize something like that, and that's what started us tinkering on the idea. And then, we've known Jason a long time, just as friends growing up together, but we were also kind of, partners with him on his first album in terms of working on some of the art, on his first remix album that came out. And we just thought it would be a great collaboration to kind of really, capture the essence of the game, but also like tap into that really strong fan base. I just think it's incredible how, the game is quite old now, how popular and how, active the community still is for, the game that came out in our childhood, really.
So is there any reason you decided to focus on Majora's Mask instead of any of the other Zeldas?
Yeah, I mean, Majora's Mask is kind of the game that connects to that darker side of things, and it's from a storytelling standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint, we all really enjoyed the game. Ocarina of Time was, definitely kind of the game, growing up that kind of like opened our eyes to what games could be. And then when Majora's Mask came out, it was just like, I don't know, it kind of took everyone by surprise. I don't think anyone was expecting it to have the tone it did, and it was really fresh. So we thought it would be a good way to kind of tap into that.
Definitely did. You perfectly captured the tone in... I mean, the thing is, like, I love you guys for making this video. At the same time, I kind of hate you because now I want a full-length film based on Majora's Mask.
I think when we first jumped in on it, we're like, oh yeah, we'll just do this in a weekend, it'll be real short, it'll be like, a minute long, just like a quick, like, introduction to the world. And then it just kind of spiraled a little bit, and even though it's, 4 minutes doesn't seem like that long, it was just like a large undertaking. So, making a feature or a full-length thing would be amazing, but, it was just a lot of work, even to get here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you say, yeah, it's only 4 minutes, but when you look at the visual quality, I mean, you guys have achieved something that really a lot of fan-made trailers and other projects really don't, and that's just that level of visual fidelity that makes it kind of indistinguishable from something that's, like an official release. And, I mean, Andre and I were talking before this interview, and we were like, this almost, like, it kind of looks like Pixar level, like, and you don't see that from fans very often. So how did you achieve that really professional look? Like, what tools and programs did you use?
Yeah, so we use a lot of, a variety of tools. Kind of our base is Maya. We do all of our 3D work in Maya, from an animation and rendering perspective. And then all the characters were done in ZBrush. for like the sculpting detail and the texturing. So yeah, Maya, ZBrush, and then we use Nuke for our compositing and bringing everything together, all the different layers.
Yeah, and just to give you a little background on us, the studio is really small. We only have about 5 full-time team members and artists. But what we've been able to do over the years in terms of our professional work, we built a really strong network of artist partners around the world who we work with all the time, and we've developed some really strong relationships with them. And we kind of all have the same mindset. It comes through in the work that we do. But everybody's big anime, film, game fans. And when we started thinking about this project, we kind of rallied the troops to get everybody involved. So it was definitely a team effort with a number of people working on it. But it's incredible what you can do, building up a team.
And one of the key, I don't know if you guys have seen this artwork by, his name is Nate Hallinan, and he did a series of like realistic Zelda concepts quite a while ago, mostly focusing on Ocarina of Time. And they got pretty popular, and he did the concepting and character design for Skull Kid. So he really helped us kind of like bring the elements from the game and the style from the game and kind of interpret it in a realistic way.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because your interpretation, especially of the Masked Salesman, I thought did a great job capturing the feel of the game without it coming across as creepy as a character himself kind of does in the game. So could you talk a little bit more about how that interpretation process works?
Yeah, he focused more on the Skull Kid. His name is Nate. The modeling for the Masked Sailor was done by another great artist. His name is Carlos Ortega. And we actually, there was it was a big challenge trying to figure out how these characters were going to look in 3D. And so we used, for the Masked Sailor particularly, a few pieces of Nintendo concept art that were a little more stylized than he looks in the actual game. And those were kind of like our base, and then from there we kind of extrapolated and did our own kind of concepts. But yeah, it was definitely a challenge and something we wanted to make sure we got as close to the game as we could, but also give him some sort of emotional connection.
When did you first start development on this project, and it has been in the works for a while, and then you buckle down at a certain point to really get it done? How did the development process itself go?
So yeah, we shot actually in April of 2015, so about 18 months ago.
Oh, wow.
So we definitely haven't been working on it full time since then. We kind of shot it and let it sit in the can for a while. I would say it's taken us, if we had to put all of our work, weekend and overtime work on it into like one concise session, it would probably be about 3 months worth of work over the last couple of years that we've been working on it. So it's been a while, but
right.
Definitely something that you kind of like, we have to like take time away from and go back to and just keep tinkering on. So it was fun the whole time. I mean, it was definitely something that we looked forward to doing. But it just takes a little bit of time when you're splitting efforts, basically.
Nintendo is pretty well known for being very protective of their IPs and their property.
Yeah.
So were there any worries at all about that?
Yeah, I think we definitely thought about it. In general, I guess our feeling has been that they've been a little bit more accepting in recent years about how they interact with the fans. Seeing Reggie play Smash Brothers with the guys at E3 and stuff like that. So it feels like they're making attempts to improve that relationship, I guess, if you would call it that. But we just tried to be true to the franchise, but also make it our own thing. And then of course, we just treated it as like something that was just for fun. Nothing that we're looking to profit on, just something that we wanted to do for our fans and kind of give back to the inspiration that the game and a lot of the Nintendo franchises have given us as artists, and that's kind of how we approached it, to try to keep it safe. But we were conscious of it and just tried to make smart decisions about how we utilized it. Keep it free. Yeah, everything's keep it free. Basically, give it away. Is our
Yeah. Kind of going back to your inspiration for a bit and kind of putting your own unique spin on things. I know Andre really loved your interpretation of the Happy Masked Salesman, but I actually was really drawn to your characterization of the Skull Kid. And something I thought that didn't always come across perfectly well in the game itself was the fact that Skull Kid really was just an innocent bystander who was possessed. And I feel like the game doesn't really go out of its way to make Skull Kid likable beyond that. You never really feel bad for him, at least I didn't, but your interpretation of his character, he really did come across as like this really innocent, impish, little kid who really just gets caught up in something much bigger than he is. And I felt a little bad for him. Was that something that you were specifically going for?
Yeah, for sure. You know, there's at the end of the game when the mask kind of like tosses him aside, and you kind of realize that he was just a puppet all along. That sort of that scene in the game really kind of stuck in all of our minds, and it's like, wow, you know, we don't really know exactly how he came across this mask, and the story is, you know, I guess intentionally vague in the game. But we made a conscious kind of decision to make Skull Kid more relatable. And yeah, you should feel a little bad for him because, you know, he's pretty innocent. He just gets caught up in the mask's power.
Well, and speaking of making intentional decisions, something that was missing from this short is Link himself.
Yeah.
He's nowhere to be seen. Was that planned from day one, and did you have any specific reasons for not focusing on Link this time?
I don't know. I mean,
yeah, actually, so. I mean, it's always kind of been...
Yeah.
I think if we had shown Link, it would have distracted from the story, which, you know, which is Skull Kids. And I know everyone, as much as we would have loved to put Link in there, and as much as everyone wanted to see him, that's not what the story's about. So we kind of felt that it would kind of distract from the arc of the character, and I don't know, leave something to the imagination, I suppose.
Yeah, and Link is a challenge too. I mean, as much as challenging as these two characters was, Link is like a whole nother level in terms of actually pulling him off. So we kind of picked our battles there.
Yeah.
But I think it added to a little bit of the tone of the piece. Leaving Link out intentionally kind of sets the stage.
Yeah, and it makes the story feel like a little bit of a prequel. Like you kind of set up the events that happened, and then now the game is going to begin. And that's when Link appears.
I totally agree with what you said about, you know, if you have Link in the short, then it just becomes about what's he going to look like, and, you know, how's he going to, you know, how's the style going to be in this trailer, and it's just kind of becomes about waiting for Link to appear. So I totally see what you're saying.
It probably helps too that we haven't really seen the Majora's Mask characters in anywhere close to this level of detail, whereas with Link we have through various concept arts and, you know, now in the more recent 3D games.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of images of Link in your mind. Whereas, especially the Skull Kid, he's very ambiguous in terms of, if you look back at the original game, it's extremely ambiguous what his face looks like. So we had like a clean slate to work with in terms of the Skull Kid.
Well, speaking of ambiguous looks, one of the interesting things I thought about your how you portrayed these characters was in regards to the fairies being, what are their names? Tattle and Tail. We were just talking about this. Yeah. In that, you know, in the game they're portrayed as like, you know, orbs of light. But so in your version, they are literally orbs. As opposed to, I think some people, you know, may have expected something like, you know, Tinkerbell characters surrounded by light.
Yeah.
So how did you decide on that? And yeah, just tell us about that process, I guess.
To be honest, the fairies were a little bit of a struggle. We did think about making them like little Peter Pan fairies, but I don't know. It just didn't feel right, and it didn't feel like it was. It just felt extremely different than the N64 games felt, in terms of like the tone and the aesthetic. But they were a challenge, and we did go back and forth. And if there's one thing I wish we could have had a little more time on, it would be the fairies to kind of really flesh out what that could look like. But yeah, I can understand why people were expecting a bit more, especially because everything else is so, I guess, grounded and realistic in a sense.
Right.
But yeah, it was a challenge for sure. That was one of the more challenging elements.
It's interesting because when I saw the fairy, or when I watched the trailer or your short for the first time, I thought it perfectly captured like how I felt those characters looked in the game. But then I started reading some comments on the fairy specifically, and I didn't think about that, you know. Yeah. And I went back. I'm like, okay, I guess I can see where people are coming from. But as one who was just going by memory of the games, I'm like, they pretty much nailed it. So,
I mean, that's what they look like in the game.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Minus some detail, but yeah.
I mean, it's funny because like it definitely was a struggle, and we did go back and forth. But yeah, reading the comments is kind of like, I knew this might be a thing, because you know you don't really know the way to go, and whenever that happens, you kind of realize that there are probably more than one good option. But yeah, I think it captures the essence of the game, which is what we were going for.
Mm-hmm. Something I think you guys also kind of nailed, it's really particular to your vision, was this kind of like horror, like this supernatural occult horror element where you see the mask having this clear possessive effect on the Happy Mask salesman. And it's like, it gets pretty creepy too, because you see his eyes roll back and you kind of hear this sound, and it's like, yeah, you get this sense that that Majora's Mask is this really evil just entity. Just looking at it can mess you up, and you guys really nailed that element of it.
Yeah, I think that was like a fun part for us. I mean, just going back to like the types of films and genres that we like, it really resonated with us to kind of add that little bit of mystery horror elements. You know, it's got to be a little scary to make it you know, engaging. So we definitely try to put that spin on it. But I think definitely Jason kind of took it to another level with the sound design, particularly with the mask and the salesman. At that point, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Sure, yeah. There's definitely some, I think with that, there's definitely some like Lord of the Rings influence for sure. Kind of like how he played it. But yeah, I did kind of want it to feel more like you said, occultish and sort of like just evil and demonic and tribal, more so than like the whispery ring type thing. You know, I thought that was just like wood elements and like just weird stuff in general was the way to go for that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, one thing that actually stands out to me more now in watching it again is, speaking on sound design, is that there is voice acting in the trailer, which is something Zelda's not typically known for, at least not until Breath of the Wild. So what was the process of that, like trying to match voices or, I guess, narration to to Zelda, something that's not typically known for?
Yeah, I mean, another struggle, to be honest. But then,
Another reason for not doing Link too.
Yeah, another reason for not doing Link. But also, there was. I mean, you could just make a film like this and be like, okay, if you don't know the games, you're not going to get it. And I think without the voiceover, that's where we were. If you didn't know the games, you were completely lost without the voiceover. So the voiceover helped us kind of set the stage a little bit for what we were trying to do. And it's a good tool to use in a short format like this because you don't have a lot of resources and time. So in the end, that storytelling element that the voiceover brought really kind of trumped everything else. And that's another collaborator that we work with all the time is Masashi Odate, really talented voice actor and traditional actor as well, who we've worked with on a couple of our other projects. And he just brings an emotional weight to everything that he does.
He becomes the character.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning of the voiceover section, he's just a regular Masashi, and by the end, he's just like the insane mask seller, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we were like sitting in the recording booth with him, and it's just like, we're all trying to be quiet and like respect his art, but it's just like we're freaking out because he's kind of like bringing this character to life, through his voice right in front of us. So it was a really fun experience working with Masashi.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, like the opening lines in the short are actually from the game. So sometimes, there's a question, it's just text, so these lines don't have to be written well, or these lines don't have to work as well because they're never going to be spoken. So we kind of took it as a challenge to take some of those lines that were in the game and try to make them sound cinematic, which I think works.
Yeah, I mean, it totally did. It was completely convincing. Again, I want a full-length movie now, so I hope you guys get on that.
Yeah.
I guess, do you have any, related to that, do you have any thoughts on Nintendo? There have been a lot of rumors now over the past year or two of Nintendo potentially broadening out, making full-length movies based on their own IPs. Do you have any thoughts on that, or maybe even advice for Nintendo on how to go about that?
Super Mario Bros. Sequel.
Yeah.
I mean, it would definitely be a challenge. Not gonna lie, like even thinking about how you would extend Majora's Mask into a feature, it starts. You as filmmakers, we can start to see breaking down very easily. But I wouldn't be scared of that. I'd say they should do it, and that there's a lot of fans who really want it, and it would be a success. And I think they don't want to make something that isn't true to the franchise. I don't think they will. But as long as they find a director and a team that can respect that, then I think they're good.
Yeah, and I think the aesthetic that we chose played in our favor of bringing traditionally digital characters into a more physical medium. So this style of combining live action with CG characters was a really good fit for this story in particular. And if we had to see an avenue, I think something like this would work well in terms of a visual style. Or at least something along this technique lines,
Yeah, because you want to have the freedom that CG gives you with the character designs. It's really nice. And if it's completely live action or, a combination of live action characters and CG characters, it kind of can break down. But I'm sure, with the right resources, it can be figured out.
Obviously, it's the focus of this amazing short that you guys just did, but does this also mean that Majora's Mask is collectively your favorite Zelda game, or do you guys all have differing opinions on that?
It's a hard choice, man.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I'd say it's probably mine. I don't know about the rest of the guys, but...
It's hard. Yeah, I mean, Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time for sure, but I mean, you gotta love Wind Waker, man. Too.
Wind Waker is great. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I was waiting. That's what I was waiting to hear. Okay,
Wind Waker's pretty awesome.
Nice.
I mean, yeah, just personally, the Majora's Mask experience. I think this is a unique to me or maybe some other people, but it was just the time that I played it in terms of my gaming growth. It just really impacted the types of games that I was looking for after that, and what I wanted to see in my gaming experience. So I think, and for that reason, it holds like a special place in my heart, particularly. But
yeah, it's like so immersive as a kid.
Yeah,
and like for a lot of people, it was the first time they ever walked out into like an open world.
Yeah,
in Ocarina of Time and stuff. So yeah, it was pretty mind blowing.
Yeah, but Wind Waker is one of the only Zelda games that I've beaten multiple times.
Yeah,
so that's saying something.
Yeah, true. It's true.
So what I'm hearing is we should be expecting a Wind Waker short next, right?
Yeah, next week is coming out.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, Ash, do you have any other questions at all, or?
I guess I do have one question looking ahead to the future. What do you? I mean, this is probably a silly question, but how are you guys feeling about Breath of the Wild? Are you all as excited as we are?
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've been waiting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're super stoked on it. I know the timeline. I don't know what the exact timeline for the release is, but we're holding our breath. I mean, waiting for it to come out. I mean, I think we're primed for a new Zelda experience. So I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking really beautiful, and I can definitely see some like Miyazaki influence in it, and that's pretty exciting too.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, guys. Well, I think that pretty much covers it for all the questions we have. So thanks again for hopping on with us. And did you want to tell people maybe just a little bit more about your company and where they can find your other work at?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're a small studio, team of really passionate artists. We're most known for character development, and that's what we do for a lot of our commercial clients. And so, what we do in our spare time is we like to tell our own stories using the skill sets that we've built up as a team. And we're looking to do a lot more stuff like this, but also in the gaming space in the coming months. We released our own sci-fi fantasy short earlier this year called Dust. It's done really well online. We're really proud of that effort that we did. And to find out more about us is mostly on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel. We'll be posting all of our content there in the coming weeks.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. Fantastic work, and we look forward to whatever else you have coming down the line. So,
Great, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for talking with us. It was a lot of fun.